Hello, everybody. We are live. How are you doing this Saturday? I am just petting Pepper here. Got my blanket, got my water, got to hydrate always, and got some coffee. This is a nice blend of like some cinnamon coffee, pumpkin spice, and I want to say some vanilla coffee or something. Because if you can't decide which one you want to have, why not have it all, right? Great minds drink alike. I always like to say. But let's see who's arrived in the comments. Hey, Francois, how are you, man? How are you doing? Good to see you. How are you doing? How's your weekend going? My weekend has been really good. I actually got a chance to get some reading time in this last few days, which has been really nice because, as you could probably tell from my frantic weekly reading roundups, it ends up being a little bit of a crazy, just constantly trying to juggle life and work and reading and everything, and this channel, because you know how it is. It's like obviously oh, hi Pepper. Okay, I guess Pepper's going to usurp the here. Let me use this opportunity to introduce you all to Pepper. Hey, Pepper, say hi to the camera. It doesn't work the same as it does for dogs, but yeah, no, I got a chance to actually spend a little time reading, which was really nice because I always feel a little bit frantic every week when I'm trying to do these things. So balancing life and work, life always gets in the way of reading time, and then reading, maybe gets in the way of life obligations. But we do what we can, right? Um, Hey, Kurt, how are you? I'm just seeing some of the comments come up here. I got to find a better system to do this. If anyone knows how to better do this comment stuff, let me know. I'm still always trying to figure it out, make it a little bit better. But I'm doing this on my phone, so can always be a little bit dicey. But yeah, what have you all been reading this week? Did you all read anything interesting? I'll start. I mentioned to you all that I've been very excited to read Christopher Rocchio's Shadows Upon Time book. This is a 900-page behemoth, and if you know anything about Christopher Rocchio, he writes in a prose style that, and also philosophically, he explores some pretty deep themes that require some, real thinking. You have to pause as you read. It's not a summer beach read or anything. So but I was particularly excited about this book because, I'm in it. I'm a character in the book, so that was kind of cool. I'd done this Kickstarter. He had a Kickstarter for the Diamond Edition a couple years back, and I kept refreshing the page like a crazy person as he was counting down on his live stream, like 10, 9, 8, Kickstarter's about to go live. So I was like one of the first people on, and so I was one of 4 people who got that add-on that he would write me in as a character and then kill me off unceremoniously. Spoiler alert! But that was the whole idea of the Kickstarter. Like, that's even in the description, is you could be killed in style in a Sun Eater novel, and it just so happened it's in the final novel. So I was particularly excited to read this and see how I felt about it. And long story short, my friends, I ended up getting this about a week ago, and I wasn't even able to spend all that time reading, and I finished it already. So it was a great read. Long story short, I did have some gripes about it, which I'll probably explore in a separate video. Particularly, the way it ended. But I'm not going to say anything more because I know a lot of people haven't read it yet, and I don't want to spoil the majesty of this book because even gripes aside, it was a phenomenal finale for what will probably be my favorite sci-fi series of all time, sci-fantasy series of all time. But have you all read Sun Eater, by the way? Let me know in the comments if you have. I'm seeing some more people here. Um, hey, how are you doing, Heidi? Let me put some of these on stage here. Uh, It's so funny. I really was hoping that if there ever is an audio drama, I'm going to specifically request the Wilhelm scream. I think that would be the best way to do it. It's too funny. Um, cool. Wow. Great to see so many wonderful people here. Terry, my mother-in-law, just said she's finishing Empire of Silence. That is awesome. I can't wait to hear what you think of Halloween Dark. Um, a lot of comments coming in. I'm going to try to scroll back and revisit some of these. I'm just getting some of the new ones that are coming in. Nikhil John Ramel has some gripes too. You must read Deathstalker by Simon R. Green. Now that is space opera. That's very interesting. I've heard of Deathstalker so much, and I don't know much about it. I gotta check this out. It's I always find it funny. It's like you start hearing the same names over and over again, and it's maybe the third or fourth time I've heard it in the last maybe 2, 3 weeks. So I always take that as a sign from the universe that it's time to explore the book. So thanks, Heidi, for the recommendation and for the reminder as well. There's got to be a better way to do these comments, I swear. Let me see. Just give me a second while I figure this out. Thank you for your patience, my friends. Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, that was unintentional. But only the best here, my friends. Only the best here. You need binoculars by the looks of things. I think, yeah, binoculars, a telescope, maybe. Um, but I will figure out a better way to do this. Okay. Hey, how's it going? I'm on Lycanius book 3, but not much reading this week with holidays. I know it's always, I feel like whenever you have holidays, it's either you're inundated with family time, which is of course amazing, but then also maybe it's less time to read. But how is the Lycanius trilogy? I've heard such good things about it. People akin it to like Wheel of Time and those types of series. I know he also did that Hierarchy series, right? The recent one that just got optioned for adaptation. So that's exciting. So I was thinking of starting on Hierarchy, but let me know if Lycanius is a better place to start if you've read Hierarchy. I'm curious. Um, let's see who else we got here. Hey, how are you? Oh, wow, you're finishing a Tim Curry biography. That's really cool. I didn't even know about this. I should check this out. I love Tim Curry. That's awesome. Did it come out recently? All right, I'm on a roll, guys. I'm actually catching up to comments. All right, Heidi, I will be finishing Perdido Street Station, Player of Games this month. Books I started but have to finish. Also, Wuthering Heights. Oh, that's really cool. I've heard of Perdido Street Station. I've heard of Player of Games. These are all names that are very familiar to me, and I'm excited to hear what you think of them, Heidi. It's awesome. Oh, very cool. Hey, Kurt, how are you? That's awesome. How is Last Kingdom? I haven't read any of those. That's Bernard Cornwell, right? Is that the one? And you started Lonesome Dove. That's awesome. That's on my list for next year. Everybody who reads it says like the character work is supposed to be amazing. And I'm not a big Western guy, but I read Louis L'Amour's Flint, I think, with Mark from the book thing earlier this year, and we both had a really good time with it. So Lonesome Dove is definitely on deck for me. But I'm curious to hear what you think once you get further in. It's awesome. And Francois finished Eye of the World, book 1 of the Wheel of Time. That's awesome. Just coming to the last part of my Remains of the Day reread. Nice. Hey, I'm very curious to see what you think of The Great Hunt when you get to it. Because for me, I know when I read Eye of the World, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great start to the series, but I also felt like have we I felt a sense of deja vu because it really feels a lot like Fellowship of the Ring. Which to be fair, you couldn't really get published in the late 80s, early 90s without doing stuff like that. in fantasy, so it makes sense. But really, book two is where he branches out and kind of it becomes its own thing. So I am curious to see what you think of book two. That was one of the ones that really made me want to pitch for the series for the show. Moving on down. DK Moon says the end of Eye of the World is a bit wonky. Yeah, lots of confusing stuff at the end. Yeah, I feel like it's almost like I don't know if this is the right comparison, but I don't know if you've all read the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. But similarly to that, the first book has a slightly different style of writing, almost like it's like Stephen King was finding his footing in the Gunslinger. Same thing with this. Like I feel like Robert Jordan was finding his footing as a writer, and it really starts to become apparent. Plus, there was only one braid tug, as Francois said. So that's not a Robert Jordan book, unless there's at least I think it's a three braid tug minimum at least. Hey, Mr. Good Cat, how are you? Okay, I'm getting closer to actually catching up, you guys. Pretty cool. This is awesome. In the same vein, finished Theater of the Gods by M. Sedane recently. Amazing space opera. Never heard of this one. Wow, that's really cool. And I love the idea of comedic but with horror and epic fantasy elements. That sounds amazing. Theater of the Gods. I'm gonna like write this down so I can remember it. Thanks for recommending it. It's awesome. It very well could have been. Maybe a couple of those were you, but I still distinctly remember other people mentioning Deathstalker as well. But yeah, it's always a sign from the universe. Maybe you just mention it three times in a row, and I'll just take that as a sign as well. No problem. Hey, how are you, man? Started of Blood and Fire from the Bond of the Broken after reading the short novella. Yeah, that's great. I remember reading The Fall from Ryan Cahill first as well, and I'm really glad I did. And for those of you who haven't read The Bound and the Broken yet, I feel like it's a good place to start because The Fall is much more fast paced. You're kind of thrown into the middle of everything, but it kind of serves the novella well because it's shorter, so you don't feel this sense of confusion as much. And then it's a nice little beginner to the first book of the series. So I enjoyed that reading order as well. Came out beginning of October, so it's new. I recommend the audiobook. Oh, cool. That's awesome. I wish see I really envy people who could like listen to fiction audiobooks. I have such a hard time with it. Somehow nonfiction, I'm totally cool, but with fiction it is just really difficult for me I think to concentrate. Like I find myself zoning out and then missing something, having to rewind it, and I just don't get the immersion I get from actual, physical books or Kindle. But you know what they say, practice makes perfect. So maybe I just got to do it more often. Francois says, I hope the Tim Curry has a chapter about him explaining how they all float. Exactly. Which reminds me, have you all seen the old It new movie and the new one? And I was curious how it compared for you all. I remember watching like s- uh bits and pieces of the old version with Tim Curry in it as Pennywise, and I remember being freaked out of it when I was a kid, but the new one definitely feels like the scarier one. But that's just me. Maybe it's just like when it's scary at the time it comes out, and maybe it's different now. But I will always have a special place in my heart for the Tim Curry version for sure. Oh, interesting. So going back to the conversation about James Islington, you said I read The Will of the Many first, so decided to read his earlier Lycanus. Okay, it's okay, but not great. Yeah, I've heard James Islington also grew a lot as an author between those two. So it's very possible it feels funny going back and seeing the before times. But I'm curious. I don't know how I'm going to actually read it. Maybe the adaptation of the hierarchy might push that up on my list. And I do have it on Kindle, so. That might be the better reason than any, you know. Oh, awesome! River of Souls and starting Freedom of the Mask soon. These are the Matthew Corbett series. For those of you who don't know, those are books 5 and 6. I'm on book 7 now, so I'm just a little bit ahead of you. I'm curious to see what you thought. You know, no spoilers, of course, but I'm curious to see what you thought of the ending of Rivers of Souls. I felt like for me, River of Souls up until the ending was the weakest entry, and then suddenly the ending pushed it way up there. I thought the ending was like wow, and it really sets up Freedom of the Masks up very well. And Freedom of the Mask is probably my favorite Matthew Corbett book so far. It's just phenomenal. So you have a lot to look forward to. Oh, I think I missed some comments, you guys. So let's see. I apologize if I missed a comment because they're coming in fast and furious right now. If I missed something, please feel free to just like type it in the chat again. I apologize. I'm trying to get to as many as I can here, but I appreciate you all chiming in. It's really fun because this is the best part of BookTube, in my opinion, is the ability to just chat all together. And on Discord, it's sometimes delayed conversations. I know for me, like I don't get a chance to just be on Discord as much as I would like to. I like to check in every day, or at the very least every other day. But this is way more fun. To be able to just like chat immediately, you know. So uh, okay, so yeah, so this is a great question. How do you build your monthly TBR? Do you plan it strictly or leave room for mood reading? This I always go back and forth. I'd be curious. I know Francois has like it down to a science, I think, at this point, and he has like years planned in advance. For me, I think I love having a wish list of things I want to get to at the beginning of each year. So there'll be series and standalones, and there'll be ones I want to finish, ones I want to start, and then standalones I want to complete. And then beyond that, I start going every month, you know, like what do I feel in the mood for, or is there a buddy read on the horizon, or something like that. And I'll kind of start planning it month to month. And that gives me some time to put in a mood read. And oftentimes, like, if I'll put ones that are higher priority, ones that are lower priority, and the lower priority ones I will allow to switch out with a mood read if the mood is there, you know. So that's the way that works for me because I am also a mood reader at heart, and I find it. But I'm also very organized, and it's always two sides of the brain, you know, fighting each other to try to get the best reading experience possible. But yeah, I think you know this community is a great forum for asking this question. I think because I'm sure everybody has different ways of doing this, but that's the way that works for me. Yeah, how does it work for you, by the way? Curious. I find audio better for rereads if you miss something you aren't lost. That's actually a very good point. Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I haven't gotten a chance to do a reread, with the exception of the Dark Tower series. I'm on like a reread of that now, very slowly. But I haven't gotten a chance to do actual rereads very much for years because there's so many books I want to read. You know, I'm thinking of rereading the Wheel of Time series actually because just has such a special place in my heart, and I can always draw it out. Maybe that's a good place to do audio, because I've heard the Rosamund Pike new versions that she's been putting out, and I think she's continuing those, regardless of the series being canceled on Amazon. So that is very exciting. But yeah, I think that would be a really great place to maybe experience the audio version and not be tied to 1,000-page chonkers when you're trying to read other books. Oh, the old one with Tim Curry terrified me as a child. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So the It movie, I think it came out in 1990. It scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, you know? But I will say like I remember watching it maybe 10 years ago again as an adult, and it didn't quite hold up in the same way as I remember it being. But that's just, you know, it's so much to do with it. Like the way it was shot, the makeup, the special effects, the score is gonna sound like a product of its time or look like a product of its time. So it's not gonna have the same, you know, emotional weight necessarily that maybe a newer version will. You know, at least for something like where horror special effects are involved. But Then again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was made in 1974. That still scares the crap out of me. So there's that as well. Old one was great. I remember when it came out, all the kids in the neighborhood were giving Stormbreens a wide berth. It's so funny the little fears we get as a kid. Like I remember in our old house in New Jersey where I was growing up, we had a basement with like a sump pump, which is like a like a hole in the ground and like the pump that goes into the um I used to be terrified of that. It's like these little random things that it's like, why would you be? And I love the way Stephen King takes those little idiosyncrasies of fear of when you were a kid and like makes it into something. It's so brilliant how he does that in it. Hey, it's Terry. It's my mother-in-law. Say hi to everyone. I like listening to some fiction first before reading. That helps make things stick better with Malazan. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, Malazan Book of the Fallen is definitely a PhD in fantasy. I will say, just going back to randomly this Sun Eater series, um, I found that the books as they progressed, they have gotten more and more complex, like Malazan level complexity, which is pretty wild and brain melting. But I would imagine audio in those cases, and then being able to like immersive read, maybe listen while reading, or listen and then read, could be a really good way to experience those books. It is skipping around a little bit, my friends. Sorry about that. Oh, you grew up in New Jersey as well. That's so cool. What part of New Jersey? So I grew up in like a I guess central South Jersey, which is called Westfield. It was like a small town, and it was a great place to grow up. Honestly, it lived up to the Garden State moniker of the state. Nikhil, has a book ever scared you? I had nightmares from King's Doomaky. So, okay, that's yet another book I've heard so much about. I gotta read this. I gotta read this book, and it's sitting on my shelf back there too. So I have no excuse. But that's on my list for next year. Good to hear it's scary though. I would say, hmm, I know Pet Cemetery scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, but it wasn't necessarily one that I was like thinking about when I was going to sleep or having bad dreams. Ironically, um if I had to pick maybe a series or something like that that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, this was like when I was 8 or 9 though. Um, R.L. Stein used to write these Fear Street novels. I don't know if you guys remember that, but there's some pretty adult things that would happen in those. There was one that was like called the Chain Letter or something, where you had to like do these horrible acts, otherwise like you'd be cursed or something would happen, and it's like it was pretty graphic for a teen novel, and I read it when I was 8, so probably not the best idea. But as an adult, I would say maybe Pet Cemetery would be one, just because the idea of grief is such a grief it's such a deep concept in the way it's explored, and it's explored in its messiness as well in that book. So that one really scared me. I'm trying to think, was there another? I know there were other ones. Um, you know, one that really disturbed me actually, was this book called The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. And the reason why it scared me is it is based on a true story, actually. It was about this girl, Sylvia Likens, and her sister in like the 60s that were tortured and killed by their neighbors. And yeah, it was a horrible, horrible story. Jack Ketchum writes so well that you're riveted to read it. But it's like a novelization of what happened, but it's very accurate, I've heard. And yeah, he doesn't shy away from the disturbing parts. So yeah, it's pretty horrifying. I would not recommend it, and at the same time, it was an incredible, riveting read. So a read that I would not recommend that was riveting. Let's see. Hey, it's ISM Wise. How are you, man? I'm so glad you stopped by. Thank you so much for being here, man. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying your reads this holiday season. And absolutely, we should do a buddy read. Let's make it happen. Let's chat. Let's figure out a thing. Let's brainstorm. I am so down. That would be wonderful. It's great to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Scrolling up here. Oh no way! Oh my god, I know exactly where that is. That is so cool. I had friends in Cherry Hill. I say I swear the world gets smaller every day. That's awesome. That's so cool. Um, American Psycho was disturbing. That rat scene. Oh, I don't know about that rat scene. I don't think that was in the movie, right? The movie was with Christian Bale, which I love that movie, by the way. In my opinion, it's like one of his best performances. Christian Bale. I don't know how it compares to the book or if it's similar in any way, but I love that movie. It's fantastic. Um, Are you planning on reading any nonfiction books soon? Yes, actually, I want to make that another decently sized part of my reading next year. Actually, that's one of the things I've kind of missed out on doing as much, with the odd memoir here and there. But I want to make maybe one a month if I can, or one every other month at least that is nonfiction, because I get so much out of that, and that luckily I can do on audio if I need to, because audio for nonfiction I can concentrate on. So I will be doing more of those, whether it be memoirs, biographies. I love reading books like a recent one I read and then I reread because this was one of my few rereads because I loved it so much. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it's about how like small actions can produce huge results over time through compounding. And I love that book, and yeah, highly recommend. But definitely want to do more nonfiction books. Are there any that I should check out that you've enjoyed recently? Let me know. I'm curious. Oh. Only stories without magic supernatural scare me. Real peeps that are bad can be real. Yeah, no, I totally get that, and that's one of the reasons why Girl Next Door really scared the crap out of me. I would say, yeah, stories where it, the humans are the evil are often scary because you're like, oh, this could happen. There is a short story or like novella collection by Stephen King called Full Dark No Stars. And it's, I think, four novellas, and it's basically all about the evil that people do to each other, completely grounded in reality. And I actually thought that is a phenomenal collection if you haven't read it, but it is very, it's very terrifying, the concepts and the people that these main characters encounter. Let's see. It would be impossible to put that in the movie. There'd be a riot. The book is way more tongue in cheek, but also way more violent. Wow. Oh man. Yeah, because the I felt like the tongue in cheek aspect of the movie was definitely preserved, but the violence, was almost to be in a surrealistic way. I'll just say it that way. Um, but yeah, that's cool. Um, I'd recommend Underground by Murakami as a nonfiction. He was upset by the biased approach by the media towards terrorist attack on the subway, so took things into his own hands. Now that sounds very interesting, and I have not read any Murakami yet. I have Norwegian Wood sitting on my shelf. I have a couple of other ones. I forget which ones, but maybe this is a good place to start. I don't know. Let me know if you think that this is better or if I should just stick with the tried and true. But that's really cool. That's really cool. Um, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about American Psycho, and then I totally forgot. Um, it's okay. It'll come to me probably after this live stream, as it often goes. Oh, I should say this is the other book I've been kind of digesting over the last week or so, and I am getting close to being done. So I will probably be done by the end of the weekend. That's Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. And this is phenomenal historical fiction. If you haven't read much historical fiction, it's a good place to start. Even though it's a behemoth. It's like almost 1,000 pages, you know. And it's about a guy building a cathedral in like the year 1135. Doesn't sound like the most riveting book, but I tell you, the characters are phenomenal. The cathedral is almost like a nexus of creativity, and there are forces at play to try to stop that from happening. And there's a interplay between like the politics of the church and the monarchy, and it's been really fun so far. And it's actually a nice counterpoint to all the Hadrian Marlowe craziness in book 7 of the Sun Eater, because those concepts are so highbrow, and really kind of take some time, melt your mind a little bit. The prose in Pillars of the Earth is way more direct and straightforward. So it was actually kind of a nice reprieve after reading the Behemoth of Sun Eater. But yeah, you know what they say about great series, right? The only way to experience it again is to read it again and pretend it's like the first time. It would be better than Norwegian Wood. This is the Murakami book, but not representative of his fiction, more his values. Oh, interesting. That's cool. Yeah, I always love, I don't know if this makes sense to you all, but I love reading authors to get a sense of where they stand on things. Also, not necessarily because that's going to make me, um, you know, decide to read something or not read something based on their value system, but more I like hearing contrarian points of view. I even like, there's a jumping all over the place, but there's a series by R. Scott Baker. What was that? Prince of Nothing, I think, or something. Aspect Emperor, maybe. I think there's like two different series within this one kind of overall series or something. But so supposedly that is like a very almost nihilistic take on humanity, and reading something like that, I wouldn't agree with that as a personal philosophy, but it's interesting to see like how would a story be written if somebody believed that, and I think that's kind of interesting, is to look at different points of view. It's like, oh, if they believed a specific thing, how would that inform the way they tell their stories, and how would it inform the way you ingest the characters? It's like you're going to see characters in a different light than if a different value system was present. So I don't know. All this to say, that always fascinates me because it's the roots to branches, right? Value systems often determine so much when it comes to this stuff. My brother gave me the Atomic Habits book. I haven't read it yet. We'll put it on the reading list. Yeah, this one is phenomenal. I mean, I won't spoil anything, but I'll just say the first couple pages, very first couple pages talks about an example of this like UK cycling team and how they did all these random small adjustments, not actually random, but seemingly random, like changing the bike seat and doing specific exercises that are not related to biking at all and stuff to build up the cycling team. And long story short, it ended up working far beyond anyone's expectations. And it posits the idea that like if you focus on the very small actions and you compound those over time, you end up doing way better. It's kind of like if you were to if you were okay, let's apply to reading, right? Like if you were to read 1% more every day, compounded over a year, that's like 30 times more reading or whatever. That's not exactly what one would do necessarily, but the idea gives you an idea on what to expect. A phenomenal book. Yeah. And James Clear actually has a newsletter called 321, which you could subscribe for free, I believe. And it's like they give you three different quotes, two different two different reading recommendations or something, and one thought provoking thing for the week. It's a phenomenal newsletter. Scrolling back up here, sorry guys. um Please forgive me. Heidi says, Nikhil, I enjoyed the miniseries for Pillars of the Earth and the next book too. Oh, that's really cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'd heard good things about this miniseries. I think once I finish this, I might actually put that on this week and see, how they compare. But I'm very curious to see the next Kingsbridge book as well. I'll be reading that at some point next year, I'm sure, along with all the others. But if you haven't read the Century trilogy, by the way, by Ken Follett, phenomenal, phenomenal series. Like, I've only read two of the three books, but they're some of the best books I've read in historical fiction, bar none. I mean, they're up there with Shogun for me, in terms of uh, pillars of historical fiction. Let's see. I Samwise says, honestly, I know people criticize Pillars for various reasons, but I thought Follett's strengths as an author outweighed his flaws. Completely agree. Completely agree. Like, if I had any quote unquote gripes, I would probably say like the villains are very villainy. Almost to the point where it feels like is this how people might have really acted in the 1100s? But it's so riveting, and you do see that the character, you understand the backstory of what makes the character that way. So it's not completely one dimensional or anything, but there's certain things like that that I could understand. It was very interesting reading this alongside the Heaven Tree trilogy by Edith Pargeter, who Jenny Wirtz recommended, and I actually read it with Jenny Wirtz and Jake from Nerd Level Rising, and we had a blast with it. But it's a very similar concept. Two kids, one of them has artistic proclivities, building a cathedral in like the year 1200, and a wider story at play, but like that one was much more of an artistic viewpoint, so it was more nuanced to have more Jenny Ward style prose in it. It was more about forgiveness and redemption and other stuff, other themes that are not really explored in Pillars, but I almost feel like they're apples to oranges in a way. Pillars almost felt like the design of the cathedral and the creative nexus of what it represents in this town, and Heaven Tree is more about like the feeling of being an artist and how that's tied to one's sense of value. So different takes on the same thing, but really cool. Let's see here. I don't have any nonfiction recommendations right now, but I'm planning to finish The Road to Conscious Machines by Woolridge, a computer science professor. That seems really interesting, especially in the age that we are living in right now. Which, things are just getting faster and faster, right? At an increasing rate. I've been very curious, and I've been watching a lot of different lectures on like machine learning, AI, and just to get a sense of where people think it's going, people in the field, and yeah, it's about to get weird and wild, my friends. Maybe we'll all upload our consciousness to a computer, and then we can just live forever and read all the books we want to read. I don't know. Oh, video game. Yes, there is a Pillars of the Earth video game. I remember, Francois, you had mentioned it on the Discord as well. So definitely have to check that out at some point. I forget when it came out, but I Samwise says, yes, the second Apocalypse. That's it, right. With Prince of Nothing trilogy and Aspect Emperor Quartet. Just finished that up last month. Brilliant series. I almost couldn't disagree with more. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, it seems like from everything I've heard of it, I feel like I'm going to be in your camp. That I will probably disagree with so much of it, but I will love the way it's written and the themes that are explored. So that sounds like it's right up my alley. And I love not just agreeing with everything I'm reading, if that makes sense. I like being forced to think. Even if I come to the same conclusion, the conclusion is deeper because it's more understood. Shame the narrative side is truly the continuation, evolution of the story, offers so much more than other forms can, not too fussed on games for game's sake. I see, I see. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I haven't tried many of these game adaptations, but I'll have to check them out. Hey, it's Brian. How are you, man? Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday, my friend. It's good to see you. Hope you're having a good Saturday as well. Hope you're enjoying your reads and getting to read some great books, getting a little extra time to read this week. Um, let's see. I see. Okay, cool. Heidi says, Eye of the Needle was a great follow-up book. World War II secret agent story. Yes, I read Eye of the Needle actually just, was it this year or last year? And I loved it. I thought it was great. I will say, and this might be a hot take, but I think Fall of Giants, which is about, in the Century Trilogy, which is about the women's suffrage movement, the Russian Revolution, and World War One, and then Winter of the World, which is about World War Two, are better books, actually. Like, and I loved Eye of the Needle, but there's something just on another tier of brilliance in those two. It's about five families. It's like a Welsh, German, English, Russian, and American family as they go through like 100 years of world history. So the third book presumably is about like Cold War to present day, and you see these multiple generations of families, and they get embroiled in world events. But it's interesting because like um, I don't want to say anything, but let's just say that the family dynamics are very influenced by these world events as well, because not everyone in the same family is of the same political sphere, and it starts to create some interesting situations. So great series there. And Heidi comes in with a GGK recommendation: Sailing to Sarantium. Right. Cathedrals and Mosaic Art. Oh, that's really cool. I've only read one GGK book so far, and I absolutely adored it. I read it 2 years ago now, and it's Lions of Albersan. So I thought that was a phenomenal book. And that was one I actually did. I kind of split between audio and reading physically, and again, it was one of those things that made me realize I I understand a story better when I read it physically. But all things aside, like I really enjoyed that one. I'm excited to read more GGK. So would that be the that's part of the Serentine Mosaic? Is that what it's called? It's like a duology, if I remember correctly. I think I saw on Joanna Reed's channel she had mentioned Sailing to Sarantium. So yeah, I've heard great things for sure. Terry says, uploading consciousness to a computer. That's the starting premise for the Bobbyverse series books. Another one I haven't read, and I know, Terry, you've mentioned to me a couple times. So now I think maybe that's one I'll try on audio. It feels like maybe that's one that will be a little bit easier to ingest on audio. So maybe I'll do that. I have some Audible credits waiting already, burning a hole in my iPhone or whatever. I don't know what the right way to say that would be, but let's see. Just scrolling. I don't get the conscious uploading stuff. Coding would be objective, yet what makes us is subjective. Computer computes. I like pizza. Fine, but how do I like pizza? Yeah. I understand that. I mean, it's interesting because that's going to be the big debate, isn't it? What makes us human? And if there's one silver lining from this whole experience, hopefully it will help us kind of figure that out a little bit better, because it's very easy to lose ourselves in this crazy world as things change. So I'm sure, I mean, I'm no soothsayer or anything, but I could imagine the world changing in that way, where there's some people who embrace AI fully and, kind of get fully entrenched in that. And there'll be people who go, I believe humans are meant to create on their own, have their own agency to do XYZ, and not give their agency up, and they'll do something different. And there'll be a kind of a divergence in terms of like philosophical ideas of how to live. But you know, light conversations for Saturday. Let's see. There's a PBS show called World on Fire miniseries. Oh, that's really cool. It's so funny. I just started watching the World War II in color yesterday, and I thought it was amazing because you look at this grainy footage in black and white, and it feels like it was from a different time, right? Just your brain looks at it and goes, "Oh, that's history." The subtle thing of just remastering that footage and putting it in color makes it feel like you look in the audience of some of this footage, and you go, wow, that looks like somebody walking around today, and that connection between the past and the present, I think, is important as people who are interested in history, because it makes it feel a little bit more like, oh, this could happen again. It's important to remember that it's not like, oh, this was a moment in time that will never be repeated, right? So I don't know. I find that stuff really interesting. But I will check out World on Fire. Thanks for the recommendation, Heidi. I'm gonna basically go back after this live stream and like look through this whole thing and try to get all the recommendations down, because there were some great ones in here. My grandfather was in World War II in the Navy. Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. We have a box of letters that he wrote home. At some point, I'd like to scan and read the letters. I think that would be an incredible, incredible project to do, and I'm sure you'd learn so much about him from a different context too. And like, what a hero! That's incredible. Um, yeah, I mean, it's like when you think about that specific generation too. Like, I'm sure they had a lot to say about things after the fact, but I mean, getting to see those letters and understand where people's minds are at during. I mean, that's a priceless, valuable thing to experience. I'm sure. I'm going to be reading Curse of the Chowian in January. I've heard great things about this. You got to let me know how this is. I'm very curious to see what you think. That's awesome, man. Hell yeah. Enjoy. I'm excited to hear your thoughts because I haven't met too many people who read it, but the people who have always raved about it. So yeah, it's gonna be what I'm eagerly waiting for your review video or commentary about it. Um, I will also keep an eye out for a review. Um, But yeah, so I don't know, like I think for this coming week, probably I'm going to try to start getting back into the algebraist, which I know Sam Not So Wise would be very thrilled to hear that because he's the one who recommended this to me. And if you all like kind of hard sci-fi that's a standalone, and you don't mind a 700-page chunker, it's pretty damn good. It's very different to Sun Eater, but it does have a little bit of that heist crew thing going on, like similar to Expanse, but there's a wider world that takes place over billions of years. So if you could imagine on that time scale, it's just kind of like people can change themselves anatomically. Some wild concepts in it. Ian M. Banks. If this is telling of Ian M. Banks, I'm definitely going to be reading more of his works. But the Culture series, I think, is the other one. That's the big one of his. But heard great things. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm loving it. Nice. That's awesome, Terry. How far are you in it now? And Francois says, I'm still debating whether to go to Before the Coffee Gets Cold and Guards for my next read next week. Ah, very interesting. What is Before the Coffee Gets Cold? Because it's something I could probably benefit from because as you've seen, I haven't taken like a single sip of this coffee, which reminds me, this coffee probably got cold. And it did. But it was worth it. I have no regrets. And Guards is the uh, Discworld novel. I think is it number 11 or something? I've heard it's really good. Um, I Samwise says, "Have you read Brent Week's Lightbringer books? You've written music for right. What was that experience like?" Yeah, actually, so I read the first two books, I think, and I started the third, and I kind of got sidetracked. But they had Brent Weeks had wanted a companion album, like an official companion album done for his book series, and I linked up with this company called the Black Piper that had done a album that was kind of an official album that was permitted by Brandon Sanderson, and so I linked up with them, and they asked me to do a main theme for Lightbringer as a whole. So it was really cool because we kind of thought of it very cinematically. So there's three sections in the track. The first section is more of like a battle. The second one is almost like a drawing of the. I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who haven't read it, but there's a specific magic system that's color based. That's really cool. And so basically, like the second section is like the calm before the storm, and then the third section is the big Lightbringer theme. And it was a blast. Like we talked about instrumentation and stuff like that, but Brent Weeks and his team really gave us free reign to like read the books, ingest them, and then kind of go forth and make music around it. So mine was less story specific, but more one that would encapsulate the series as a whole. So that was kind of my thought process behind it. But it's great. I don't know why I didn't continue really. I really should. But have you caught up with all of Lightbringer? Did you read all five? I guess five books. I think. let's see here. Have you continued with the last of the Atlanteus? I'm just curious, no pressure. Yeah. So I'm actually going to be I just put it aside because our buddy read group, which actually consists of I Sam Weiss and Preacher Reads and Jake from Nerd Level Rising and Philip Chase and Zachary Shea and David from Four Corners of the Page. It's a big group. We were going to do a discussion end of November, but now we're doing it end of December, so that buys me more time. So actually, that's going to be one of the first ones I tackle in December. So I'm excited to get to it and see how it is. But yeah, so it should be a really fun week ahead, my friends. What do you all have on deck this coming week? Do you have any like travel plans or anything like that coming up or anything? Let me know. I know for us, we were originally going to go to Japan actually, but we had a family emergency. My aunt is going through some health things right now, so we had to kind of cancel the trip and postpone it for another time. So that is on hold for now. But that just means I'll just be home and working on some music projects and things like that. But yeah, I hope you all are having a good rest of your Thanksgiving holiday, and for those of you who are celebrating and stuff. But yeah, it's so much fun chatting with you guys. It's been really great hanging out with you all. Oh, I see another comment coming in. I'm currently going very slowly through Shadows Upon Time. Nice. I'm very curious to hear what you think when you get to the very end. Um, and what you think of it actually now, currently. I loved, for the most part, I loved it. I thought it was one of my favorite entries in the series. That I had some gripes, of course, but there were some parts of it that were like, wow. The heady concepts felt even easier to understand than Disquiet Gods, which was really nice. So. Terry asks, "How was your evening at the HMMA Awards?" So, it was an incredible time. Amazon really rolled out the red carpet. Like they had a car escort us there, and then Amazon's team was out in full force. We didn't end up winning. We lost to Kevin Bacon, unfortunately, but it was a great night. Ultimately, we got to see some great performances. Diane Warren performed. She did the song by Aerosmith, "Don't Want to Miss a Thing," a couple Celine Dion songs in the 90s. So it's great, great, great stuff. You guys, I hate to do this. Could you excuse me for 1 second? I'll be right back. I just need to use the restroom. I've been like drinking water and stuff. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. As Brian Lee Durfee would say, we'll edit that out. Don't worry. I Sam Wise said, then I think I'll start Orson Scott Card's Alvin Maker book since the long-awaited seventh book comes out next year. I've never heard of this actually. I only know of what's the big one? Name escapes me right now. Uh yeah, you know which is the big series I'm talking about. But how does this compare to that? I would be very curious actually. But yeah, so it's gonna be a great great week ahead, I'm sure. I know I have a few videos planned and things like that, and actually another live stream I'm going to be doing with Books with Genghis Khan about the Sun Eater series. So I'm excited to chat with that on that with him, and it should be a really fun week ahead. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys joining in today, this morning. It's been really fun getting to chat with so many of you, and it's always a blast when we get to do this. So maybe I'll try to do another one like around the holidays in December, and that way we can have a little bit more time to chat. But I really appreciate you all coming. Thank you so much. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend and read some great books. And I'll have my reading roundup on Tuesday and another 3 videos next week. So definitely lots more to come. But yeah, thanks guys so much for coming, and great chatting with you all. Have a good one, all right? Take care.